The Little Mermaid's recent marketing has gone down about as well as a napalm strike.
Relive the timeless classic with Flounder, Sebastion.
Every new piece of news had new backlash from all sides. Whether that be Lizzo wanting to turn Ursula into a lady of the night, people complaining that the fish looked too real, with things like Flounder looking skinny and depressed, and how all of that perpetuals animal abuse ahead of the film's release. Don't you know I'm really sick of seeing this clip because I keep expecting her to rip his little fins off, and none of those accusations were helped when later on she went to a controversial zoo and got hit with exactly the same backlash, because the zoo has been reported to have the animals in cramped cages, and in 2018 this place was reported to make orangutans do daily boxing fights. Even PETA got involved in her photos, to the point where she was probably wishing that the elephant was as CGI as everything in her movie. It is quite weird how they wanted to do a live-action remake, and then just ended up making everything CGI anyway. But none of this compared to the story when we found out they were changing the songs, rewriting the lyrics for modern sensibilities. Something that's almost as weird as listing The Little Mermaid under Yahoo Sports. All because, as Rob Marshall says, culture and sensibilities have changed in the last 34 years. By which I think he means the culture and sensibilities of Hollywood, where 34 years ago they couldn't even look at a fish without thinking, "Phew, I can't wait to assault that." The stupid thing is, the offending lyrics themselves are something like, "She don't say a word and she won't say a word until you kiss the girl," which is basically Sebastion telling the prince the plot. Honestly, if you're offended by that, may I kindly just suggest you watch the movie? No, in The Little Mermaid, the only dark, dank hole anyone is likely to see is the one in the trailer. Like, seriously, could you not have turned the brightness up?
Legs are required for jumping, dancing.
Put some lights in there, turn the saturation up. How on earth do you make The Little Mermaid look so dull and boring? In fact, my main question is, if that's as dark as it is at the bottom of the ocean, why did you evolve protection from the sun? Although I have to ask, how did Triton's daughters turn from this into this? Because Triton, mate, that's worse than Prince Harry. In fact, my current working theory is just that your wife's a whore.
Coming this holiday season.
No, The Little Mermaid marketing has just been disaster after disaster. Even when they go and do a private screening for it, it still doesn't go well. Director Rob Marshall invited a guest list of about 80 people, and they absolutely loved it, applauded it after each musical number, and continued to rave after the post-screening reception. It's like when your 4-year-old comes back from school with a self-portrait and you're like, "Oh yeah, dear, that's amazing." If you actually want honest opinions about your movie, then maybe don't just invite a close-knit group of 80 of your friends. But Halle Bailey in interviews has not been great. Saying about the movie, "I definitely think it's going to be different because you can see a modern take on our world." This is The Little Mermaid, dear. It's not our world. It has talking fish, magic, and mermaids. I thought that would have been a bit of a clue for you. But no, in this, she says you can see a reflection of the world that we live in today. Why would I want to do that? It's The Little Mermaid, bruv. If I wanted to see the world I live in today, I'd go outside. Do I look as if I go outside? You know what I want to see in a Little Mermaid movie? The Little Mermaid's world. This is the bottom of the ocean. Why would it look like our world? Let alone the insane commentary that you can see a reflection of the world we live in today because this world we live in is a beautiful melting pot of diversity, as opposed to when, because apparently this beautiful melting pot is only the world we live in today, but not like 100 years ago. Please, can you let us know when you think the rest of the world outside of America began to exist? Because I promise you, the world's been this way for a while. But what can I say? Self-obsessed, egotistical Hollywood actors have always just seemed to think that the world is Hollywood. Or more specifically, them. And if they're not in the movie, personally, then the world simply doesn't exist. Although I have to say, somebody that I wish was in The Little Mermaid is definitely Lizzo. That would have been hilarious. That would have provided endless hours of entertainment. Yeah, apparently Disney almost cast Lizzo after she campaigned hard for Ursula and was going to turn her into a lady of the night. Apparently everybody knew that she auditioned for Ursula. We're getting really flexible for the definitions of everyone here. But you know, I'm fine as hell, and I was down to make Ursula shake her ass. I'm not sure if now was the right moment to remind everybody that The Little Mermaid is a kid's film, but then again, it never stops She-Hulk, and that's on Disney Plus as well. But when people say the designs in this new movie are horrible, oh boy, because there has been massive amounts of criticism about how Flounder and some of the animals look, because while Flounder is insulting, when it comes to Sebastion, I really only have one thing on my mind. And in fact, this got so bad that you had a Texas police department tweeting out, "Yes, this is a crime," We're just trying to find out which one. Other people joke that Flounder had been put on a diabetes medication, which had been promoted as a weight loss treatment, and honestly, I can see why. Another said the problem with the realistic design is that he doesn't look sentient. There's no light behind his eyes. It doesn't look like someone teasing her friend. It looks like cruelty. In fact, the only surprising thing is when Disney saw those two pictures next to each other, they didn't immediately start firing people. Why does Flounder look like a depressed 40-year-old chain smoker with 3 kids and a mortgage he can't pay? Now, one tweet did say, maybe I'm being out of line here, but I was expecting the Little Mermaid characters to look cute, and I don't know about that. I don't know whether that's actually allowed anymore, because we've decided to change the Little Mermaid, to update it, to make it have a feminist twist, and those two things don't really go together. Yeah, now Ariel has been changed. Definitely changed the perspective of her, just wanting to leave the ocean for a boy. You know, the plot. It is very difficult when you've got a magic spell cast on you that says you have to make this man fall in love with you within 3 days, otherwise you're going to belong to an evil creature of the ocean. Tends to reorder your priorities, and make you really want to leave the ocean for a boy, but apparently that's not it anymore. No, now it's way bigger than that. It's about herself, her purpose, her freedom, her life, what she wants. Yeah, before, this was a plot about magic and men, princes and kingdoms, love in all its forms, and the key aspects of human attraction, and how to make somebody fall in love with you. Whereas now, it's about something bigger. Yes, it's about her. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but when someone goes, it's about herself, her purpose, her freedom, her life, what she wants. As a woman, we're amazing, we're independent, we're modern, we are everything. Yeah, everything except modest, apparently. What we do know is that everything definitely includes arrogant, egotistical, and self-absorbed. I can't think of a worse plot for a film of just going, well, it's all about me, actually, what I want, because I'm amazing. I am everything and above. This is Disney updating some of those themes from modern audience, where all the people out in the world are simply obsessed with themselves. Why would you ever need a story about love or a man or getting together as part of a family and building something together when it can just all be about you and your base-driven desires? How very modern. Yes, before, the story was about wanting to leave the ocean for a boy so she could build a family with somebody else. Whereas now, it's all about her, and so the sequel to The Little Mermaid will simply involve wine and cats. The interesting thing is when they spoke to the director about the casting itself, and he goes, I wasn't actually expecting anyone to complain about the casting. I feel like we've moved so far about that kind of thing, you know, caring about lore or authenticity. I thought we'd moved past such things as quality entertainment. Don't you understand? This is 2023 Hollywood. We only produce crap at this point. We intentionally just go back in time and destroy all of our IPs. I wasn't actually expecting anyone to be as gauche as to call us on it. At this point, aren't you used to it? I certainly never expected anyone to complain. That's when he realized that we haven't. Apparently there are still some people in the world who care about the quality of their entertainment or protecting the integrity of a story. It was very moving to him to see how important this kind of casting is for the world. Seriously, if you climb any more up your own backside, we're going to be able to see your face climbing out your own face. Of course, Bailey did say, after giving us a big speech about how it's all about her, that it's very important that she sees herself on the screen. Which is understandable, because if I got paid to be seen on screen, I'd think it was important to see me up there as well. It's very difficult to claim you're doing something amazing for the world when it's all actually about personal self-interest and inflating your own bank balance. But no, the defensive stories have already started. Don't you know, if Peter Pan and Wendy was getting review bombed, then the same is going to happen for The Little Mermaid. I mean, if one thing that Disney produces was trash, the next thing's probably going to be trash as well, and people might actually say that in reviews. I mean, honestly, once you see it, you can't really unsee it. Although Bailey has been asked some particularly weird questions, including one where someone asked her which of her underwater companions would she consume if forced. Apparently the question was a bit out of left field, saying that she wouldn't eat either. They're all my friends.
If you had to eat Flounder or Sebastion, who would you eat?
I would not eat either of them.
Fair enough.
I mean, honestly, if it looked that bad, I wouldn't want to eat it either, so personally, I don't blame you. But while some defensive stories have already started, they're like, look, we know everyone's going to say this movie is trash. There are some where it's like, well, it'll still be a massive success, hitting top 10 Memorial Day opening. Currently on track to have one of the best opening weekends. Coming from Deadline, which suggests it's going to get 110 million for the opening weekend. But of course, we had to change the song. It was complicated, don't you know? she couldn't actually physically say, "Please, can you kiss me?" And so that can't be accepted in 2023, because as we know, every single person in the world always engages in a verbal contract first, which is incredibly complicated when the Little Mermaid can't talk. So you couldn't just have Sebastion coming out and going, "Look, she can't talk, but when you kiss her, it'll solve the magic and then she can talk to you." Apparently, there's something incredibly wrong with that, despite the fact that she's doing this. Yes, Ariel was the one who came out of the ocean wanting the prince. She was going after him. If anything, it was predatory. She's like, "Okay, I need you to love me in 3 days and I'm willing to do whatever it takes." No, now in 2023, that's all changed. To the point where in the new movie, when he goes after her first, she just looks away. Bearing in mind that this is something she actually needs to happen. Yeah, for some reason, she's not that bothered about it. In fact, they've written themselves into such a narrative corner, they actually had to start changing even more of the story to desperately try and make it make sense. And we know this from the book that's already come out about the movie, so we know a lot of the changes that have been made. And just to make any of this make sense, they've now made Ursula put a curse on Ariel, so that yes, she still needs him to get with her within 3 days, but she can't remember that, and whenever Sebastion brings it up to her, her mind just kind of wanders off, and she forgets it immediately. And this all comes down to the fact that they can't have Ariel be the one who comes onto him. They are so desperate to spin a story about how the prince is the one in the wrong, that their solution for that is to completely remove the fact that Ariel came onto him in the first place. Hey, maybe when it comes to romance and interhuman relationships, Hollywood shouldn't be the people who actually start to judge this kind of thing. And if you thought you'd seen everything about The Little Mermaid, oh no. Something so insane it could only be a product of academia itself. From the University of California, it is Black Mermaids, a creation of fact and fiction. This comes from the University of Riverside's mermaid expert. Why does a university have a mermaid expert? So students, we're here to prepare you for the working world. When you leave this, you're going to need a career. And one thing that I think will obviously be integral to your future and making money is that you all know about mermaids. I know this is a very specialist subject, but we do have an expert in-house who actually specializes in all those mermaids that need protection from the sun in the ocean. And this expert asked the big questions. Questions like, do mermaids exist? I'm not joking, this is a video on YouTube from the University of California. 4 hours ago, 85 views. Doing well considering the topic, to be honest. Throughout her life, Davies has researched various different intersections. So I think we know where we're going with that one. Thanks to The Little Mermaid, Davis' research is more relevant than ever. I mean, that was lucky. Can you imagine being a university lecturer that focused on do mermaids exist in real life, and then suddenly a movie comes along, you're like, this is my moment. I was born for this.
I have always loved mermaids, but for some reason I never really considered it as an object of scholarly analysis.
I can't imagine why. Is it when you went to your friends and said, I'm taking a degree in mermaid studies, and they burst out laughing? Was that the clue?
And now mermaids is my life's work.
Call me crazy, but I have a feeling you don't actually get much done. This is mermaids. There isn't much work to do. Going out on a boat looking for the last few remaining mermaids to tag, and if injured, bring back to the sanctuary, desperately trying to stop them going extinct. I'm sorry, but if anything I say sounds like it's farcical to you, imagine how bad the actual video is. This isn't a joke. This is from the University of California. And I think there's a lesson for all of us here. Despite everything that Disney have done to The Little Mermaid, despite all of the insanity involved in that and all of the comments from the interviews, which show just how talentless and ideological Hollywood has become, at least even with all of that, we know one thing. It doesn't even touch how insane universities in California are. Those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.